Hello, and welcome back to the Life on the Wrist podcast, where we discuss what happened in watches over the last week. A week is a very short amount of time to sort of have an interval of this news, but we will bring you a few things that happened that were quite exciting in the watch world. We're going to talk about two topics, one sort of in the auction side of things, and then the other has to do with another auction that's taking place, but obviously of unique pieces. More on that later. Before we get started, I did want to say that the Watch Pro Awards did take place this weekend. I'm not going to cover them extensively, but I did want to give a big shout out to Win Vintage for winning the pre-owned sale award. He was up against some fierce competition in some really big competitors. And it's very exciting to see him win this. Very well deserved, considering the things that he has done for the industry. The award is the Pre-Owned Watch Retailer of the Year award, where he was a finalist alongside eBay Watches, Watchbox, Crown and Caliber, and Bonetta. And so, really excited to see that someone so knowledgeable and so influential in the watch world would win something like that, especially going up against some of those larger figures. Now on to the topics that I wanted to discuss. The first, we will talk about a really exciting exhibit that took place last week from Sotheby's, where Freddie Mercury's estate was being sold. There were more than 1,400 items from the estate of the former Queen frontman Freddie Mercury that were sold at auction. Some of those including his piano, handwritten songs, but one of the things that caught my eye, obviously, as a watch enthusiast, was some of the watches and timepieces that were sold. There was probably the most stark of these was a red Seiko pulse meter from 1982. It was estimated to go between 300 and 500 pounds, but it ended up selling for 35,560 pounds. Without this connection, this is essentially just a quartz watch that obviously is important from the history of Seiko, but it has this really bright red color. There's an alarm with a chronograph and a pulsometer, and so it sort of matched the flamboyant energy that Freddie Mercury brought to many of the things that he did. So a watch that's only a couple $100 ended up selling for 35,000 pounds. So that's pretty exciting to see a big result for a watch that belonged to such a famous and influential person in modern history. There were also 4 Cartier desk clocks that sold. There was one that was a 9-karat gold desk timepiece from Cartier, manufactured in 1973, that sold for 26,670 pounds. Really cool sort of ovular shape with Roman numerals. Then there was a gilt brass and enamel desk timepiece that was manufactured in around 1980. That sold for just over 10,000 pounds. Sort of has sort of a stirrup-shaped case, and the famous Cartier Roman numeral sort of dial in that shape. There was also a gold-plated desk timepiece from Cartier that was manufactured between 1975 and 1980 that sold just over 15,000 US pounds. This is very small. Sort of the outside of the case is quite thick with a very delicate sort of inner dial, which was quite nice. And then there was a gilt brass and enamel traveling timepiece from around 1980 that sold for just over 19,000 pounds. Really cool blue enamel. I highly recommend you check out the pictures of these. There will be a link in the show notes of this podcast if you want to look at these. It's very exciting to see. Obviously, Mercury was a fan of watches and timekeeping devices. Cartier seemed to be a big brand for him, and that's some nice results for the Freddie Mercury estate. And also, I think, just for significant timekeeping watches, devices that belong to famous individuals. The next thing I wanted to speak about was something that I had the opportunity to go to, which was the OnlyWatch watch exhibit. If you don't know, OnlyWatch is a watch auction that takes place every other year. The majority of the proceeds, I believe it's 99% of the proceeds, are given to researching muscular dystrophy. This is an event that takes place where watch brands come out with unique pieces just for OnlyWatch, and these pieces are sold by Christie's, and it's always an exciting time to see what brands come up with, and also how much can be raised for such an important event. Obviously, when you're looking at these timepieces, these are pieces that are probably going to go for many multiples over perhaps what some of their retail, some of not mass produced, but serially produced timekeeping devices will go for from the brands that are producing these pieces. But I think even if you aren't bidding on these pieces, I think it's really important to drive attention to it and drive attention to this really special auction that's trying to do some good in the world. Muscular dystrophy is a terrible disease, and the type of muscular dystrophy is one that is very prevalent in kids, and a lot of the times they don't live very long once they're diagnosed. They OnlyWatch is basically on a tour to showcase these pieces to different places around the world, which is really exciting. I think it drums up a lot of attention for the auction, and also hopefully find some bidders for these watches. They're going all over the place, and I believe I have the dates here. So from the 6th to 9th of September, they were in Los Angeles. From the 14th to the 17th of September, they were in New York. From the 27th to the 30th, they'll be in Monaco. From the 5th and 6th of October, they'll be in Hong Kong. 11th and 12th in Bangkok. Singapore will be the 20th to the 22nd. Dubai will be the 27th of October. And then Geneva will be the 3rd to the 5th of November. The auction is taking place on the 5th of November in Geneva. And I had the opportunity to see some of these incredible pieces. I highly recommend you check out the Life on the Wrist Instagram, because I did cover my little trip there to see some of these pieces, but I wanted to discuss a couple of them that I thought were very, very interesting. First off was the Grunefeld. The Grunefeld was extremely nice. When I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, the two sides of the straps are completely different, which is something that I thought was fairly unique. The dial color alone is incredibly cool, and was, I think, one of the reasons why it sort of caught my eyes, because the colors that were used are so stark. When you see this watch in person, the finishing on it is also really impressive. When you're looking at the dial, you can really see the time that went into it. It's the 1945 Principia mandala, so it takes obviously inspiration from the 1941 Principia. Has this really mandala design on the dial. It's also the first watch to have a exhibition case back, sort of hunter style exhibition case back. Extremely beautiful, super colorful, and very nice piece. I really enjoyed seeing the Voutilainen. Obviously, Voutilainen has produced some extremely cool pieces. It's nice that Kari Voutilainen is getting some good recognition for the things that he has been able to accomplish as a watchmaker. I always say that I'm super excited that I was able to hear about him through MBNF. They made a watch with an incredibly beautiful silver dial with engine turning decoration in this sort of green. Reminds me of sort of like a fern almost. Really beautiful titanium cased watch. Dial is really what captured me. It obviously has time zones around the outside of the watch with a 24-hour disc. So it's a super beautiful piece. I had a chance to see the Bulgari Octo with the marble finishing on it, green marble finishing on it. It's really nice looking piece, beautiful tourbillon, and it was fairly nice. Also, we got a couple more pieces. The trilobe is something that I was absolutely mesmerized by. You really have to see this piece in person. Réconciliation is the piece. It's a really beautiful titanium with a black PVD coating, and then they have these titanium rings that are colored by titanium with a little bit of gold leaf as well. What really was amazing about this piece is when you see the three-dimensionality of this piece. Pictures do not do it justice, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I also really loved seeing the Louis Vuitton Tambour Einstein Automata, because who doesn't like a watch with Einstein's face on it? I also want to call out that one of the coolest features on it is the fact that there's a little bit of hair that comes off of the side of the case, and that is actually how you engage the repeater, which I thought was so cool. The Laurent Ferrier Sport Auto was also really nice. It's obviously kind of, takes into consideration the sort of sports watch craze, but what an incredible looking piece. If you want something that isn't so out there, I think this is right down the alley of basically every watch collector that might be interested in some sort of sports watch. I got the chance to see the Bifair that's going to be sold, which is really nice. The Speak Marine was also so cool. The wavy dial was so nice. This is part of the Ripples collection with a really beautiful blue royal blue finish to it. I absolutely love the hands on this piece. One of the things that I love about Speak Marine is their hands. I've covered a brand that maybe not too many people are familiar with, called Louis Monet. It's a brand that produces some really important horological pieces, and they created their Art Tech watch, where their dial is cut from microelectric silicon wafer and has this incredible vibrant set of colors that brings honestly, I literally looked at it and smiled because it was so cool. It almost looks like a DJ or a disco set, which I thought was super nice. All that cased in a titanium case. The last one that I'll talk about was obviously my favorite, which was the MB&F. I have one of the catalogs from the OnlyWatch, and what's really cool is the H. Moser MB&F piece is named the Streamliner Pandemonium. It does have information like that it's in a stainless steel case with a see-through case back, that the dial is made for a Fume dial with a sunburst pattern. The caliber is described as a three-dimensional hand-wound caliber with beats and the power reserve, but it doesn't indicate that it is actually a repeater, which I think is quite cool. Still keeping it a little bit secret on what it is, but obviously it's been unveiled, and it was really nice to see that in person. The dial is incredibly beautiful. I encourage you to check out pictures. I'll put a link in the show notes to the OnlyWatch website, so you can see that. But I also encourage you to check out our Instagram so you can see the watches that we actually saw during our visit. I'm a huge advocate when the watch industry tries to do some good with these things that we love so much, and it's always exciting to see what brands come up with for OnlyWatch. If you have the opportunity to share this auction with a friend or participate in the auction, I really do urge you to do so. This is a a serious disease, and it's such a great way of sharing, a passion and trying to do some good in the world. There are a lot of problems out there, and I think it's a nice way to try and contribute to the world in a good way. So check out the watches because they are really cool. And if the OnlyWatch exhibition is going to be in your area, I highly encourage you to check it out. If you want to see any of these pieces and handle them, you can do it, I believe, by private appointment. Definitely check out OnlyWatch. That's it for this week's podcast. We'll be back next week with whatever happens over the next week. Let me know if there are things that you want me to cover in this podcast. I'm more than happy to do that from an educational perspective. If there are things that are on your mind and you want me to talk about, I'm more than happy to do that. If you are new to the Life from Nurse podcast, be sure to follow us and share this podcast with a friend who might be interested in watching, who is interested in watches and might like this podcast. There'll be links in the show notes to all of our social media pages, so if you wouldn't mind checking us out on all of that, you can head to the show notes of this podcast. If you are feeling generous and wouldn't mind liking this podcast, your feedback really is important to me, and I find it extremely important to learn from what you are saying about this podcast and what you want to see and what maybe I can improve on. So rate us if you are feeling generous. It really does help me out. Head over to lifeinthewrist.com if you want some more watch content. We have our YouTube channel as well, where you can get some more watch content if you're yearning for that type of thing. With that said, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. I'm sure there's something to look forward to. All right, see you in the next one.